2016. Could we please have the roll call?
Barbara Brenner.
Here.
Rud Browne.
Here.
Barry Buchanan.
Here.
Todd Donovan.
Here.
Ken Mann.
Here.
Satpal Sidhu.
Here.
Carl Weimer.
Here. Okay, could you please all stand and join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just have a couple quick announcements. One is if you have a cell phone with you, if you would please either shut it off or put it on vibrate. If you'll be handing out paperwork to council members, please give one copy to the clerk for our files. Thank you. From today's Committee of the Whole, we had reorganization of the Whatcom County Council. Myself, I was elected chair. Councilmember Browne is the vice chair, and Councilmember Weimer is the county exec pro tem. So that's what we did this afternoon. Then we had a brief discussion regarding the council's email policy, which we'll delve into a little bit deeper when we have our retreat. We got an overview of the 2016 comp plan update and urban growth area review process and discussion of comprehensive plan chapter 1, introduction and growth projections. We'll be having a public hearing on the 26th on the comp plan, the first one. Okay. Now we'll move into the open session. Audience members will have up to 3 minutes to address the council on any issue relevant to the county business. Before beginning to comment, please state your name and topic of interest for the record. If your last name is something other than Smith or Jones, please spell it for the clerk. Please make sure to speak into the microphone. Please stand behind the signs located in the aisles as a courtesy to other speakers, and we thank you in advance for your cooperation. So we will open our open session. Come on down if anybody has the desire to speak to the council.
Oh, I was going to say.
Good evening, Gary Peterson, P-E-D-E-R-S-O-N. And what I would like to talk to is something I just found about before Christmas about month-to-month rentals properties in the city. Something I didn't realize is landlords only have to give a tenant a 20-day notice, and then they can evict them for no reason. I've been at a place for 9 years. I've seen 4 people within that time, some of them 3 years and longer, get the same notice. Now, part of the problem I don't understand is why can a landlord go ahead and say, Mr. Mann here, he's in my rental property, and say Mr. Buchanan needs a place to live. I just have to give Mr. Mann a 20-day notice so he can move in. Where's the rights for the month-to-month tenant? I'll just make this simple because I know you guys want to get out of here. I talked to one of the council members at an advocate they had at the library, or one of the representatives there. I was just trying to find out some answers. I'm in no trouble, luckily, knock on wood. But why can't, like in the state now, we've got a federal law that says marijuana is illegal, which is nice. The state says no, it isn't. But yet some cities are passing resolutions and things that say you can't have this here, here, and here. Why can't we pass an ordinance in the city of Bellingham or look into putting in a 3-month lease? Why are these month-to-month leases there? It gives rental people, which are mostly myself, disabled or low income or elderly, we don't have the funds. If we get a 20-day notice, I don't have the $2,000 to move out. So where do I go? I mean, this is a question I was surprised nobody's asked. And I hope maybe somebody can find out in a committee or something where we can go. But I called the city of Bellevue, the city of Everett, and they have the same problem. So it's just not Bellingham, and it's getting worse because there's more people that need apartments, and there's not apartments available, as everybody knows, which is nice because that means we're growing as a city. But the problem with going into a long-term rental, like a year where they give you a lease, it's over $1,000 a month. Well, I'll give you a quick. Most people on disability make between $500 and $1,000 as a single person a month. If you're paying $500 minimum, let's say, for your apartment.
30 seconds, please.
And say $400 for your health care, where do you live? What do you do? And a family just doubled that. So I'm saying, the landlords need the rights, but the tenants need something. Can't we put in a 3-month lease and take this month to month out? Thank you for your time.
Councilmember Brenner.
I have a question. Hi. You're talking about inside the city of Bellingham?
Yes, correct.
We don't have that I know of. I don't think we have that jurisdiction inside the city. The city council would. This is the county council. We have jurisdiction on stuff like that in the unincorporated area. But it's certainly a question I'd like to find out the answer in the unincorporated area.
Well, I checked Ferndale, Linden, Sumas, and then I went to different areas. I called around. I go to Seattle once a month for my neurosurgery.
But those are all cities.
I know, but I checked outlying areas, and they have the same problems.
Huh.
The landlord, some places, landlords, they go, well, we boot you out because we know I don't have the money to hire an attorney.
Yeah.
So they bring in their attorney who's getting $300-400 an hour. In the meantime, where do I go?
Well, if you give me a call, I can give you some ideas about attorneys anyway, because you can get. Okay.
I found out a bunch of attorneys, and like I said, I'm not in, but I was told to come here and then also come to the city council meeting, just to see if we can get because it's scary out there. I mean, where do you put people?
Well, Jeff is here you don't have to come up, but that would be a nice item for topic. I think it's really important. If you could get it, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Anyone else like to come up and address the council? Seeing none, we will close the open session. Next item is a request authorization for the county executive to enter into a contract amendment between Whatcom County and Stericycle Environmental Solutions to extend the agreement for an additional 3-year period, clarify scope of work, and allow for a 3% cost increase. Does anybody want to address this at all from the staff?
It's pretty simple.
Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff Hedges, Whatcom County Health Department. I think everyone's maybe familiar with the disposal of toxics program in the county. We collect moderate risk waste from households and businesses. It's a flagship program, actually. We collect over 500,000 pounds of waste chemicals per year from, I did get some statistics, actually. We average about 8,300 households a year that use this program, and about 1,000 business trips per year that dispose of the waste chemicals. Over 500,000 pounds per year are disposed of, and of that, we have a recycling rate of about 60% for the various waste streams. We do 2 remote waste collection events around the county every year, for example, at Point Roberts or one of the other unincorporated areas that might be hard to get into town often to clean out their garages. And I could go on with the statistics of, 25,000 pounds per year of fluorescent tubes that have mercury in them, et cetera. So we have before us tonight a request to amend the current services contract at the facility with Stericycle, which used to be Phillips Services Corporation and is now Stericycle. And we have been under this existing contract for 3 years with them, very successfully again. And the existing contract has provision to amend the term for another 3 years, which we are recommending that we do. There is a 3% price increase, and if they wanted 4%, I acknowledged that 2% was not enough of an increase over a 6-year time period. And I did find 3% over 6 years to be an acceptable increase. And there's a little bit of housekeeping in the scope of work, but essentially the services at the facility remain the same. So if there's any questions tonight about the operations, recycling, disposal, the contract, I'm happy to answer them.
Mr. Brown?
Mr. Hedges, thank you for responding to the emails I sent you earlier. And my main question was that there were others. I know at least one other person who would have been interested in bidding on this. And the question was down to what was the opportunities for them to bid. And was this renewal advertised or just the original contract advertised?
The original contract was advertised, but the renewal was not.
Okay. So, and this is probably more a question for the executive's office, and unfortunately the executive's not here, but I think based on your reply is the advertising for this was done through the Bellingham Herald, if I remember correctly.
The Herald, 3 years ago, when Public Works was managing the solid waste division, they advertised in the Herald and through a distribution list of who they thought might be interested, which is very typical.
If you were going to advertise the same thing today, is that the same mechanism?
If I was going to go back out to bid?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. It is a requirement to advertise the request for proposal.
Right. And where I'm going with this is that one of the things I think we need to do is put these requests for proposals on the website and also set up an ability for prospective bidders to indicate that they're interested in getting emails about any opportunities in a given area, whether that be gravel or recycling or paint supplies or whatever the case may be. So,
Certainly.
but that's an administrative question.
Certainly, if any service providers would like to contact me about that, I'd be happy to discuss that with them. It's worth just mentioning that in this arena of service provision, there are a few players, actually. 3 years ago, there were only 2 bidders, Clean Harbors and Phillips Services, requesting to possibly do the work.
Ms. Brenner?
Well, also, it was my understanding the original contract had a provision for extending it.
Section 10.2 of the original contract.
Yeah. So you're not going to just put it all out again if you've got a provision in there to extend it. And when we're happy with the service, the only reason I can think of, because we've done this before with other contracts, the only reason I can think of to go out for bid is you're not happy with the service. And so people at both ends are depending on that clause in the contract too, our end and the provider's end.
Mr. Weimer?
Yeah, just a couple of questions, Jeff. I think it's a great service, and I support the contract. But I was just wondering what the split is between the ecology grant and the solid waste fund for this. Do you know?
Very good question. Thank you. Historically, for all the 15 or more years that we've been operating this facility, we have utilized the Coordinated Prevention Grant program through Ecology, and they have reimbursed us 75% of all expenses at the facility. So, that means in 2015, on a $360,000 contract, we only paid about $90,000. However, worth mentioning that, as people probably know, in 2016 at the state level in the capital budget, there were significant cuts in the Coordinated Prevention Grant Program due to the low price of oil. The Model Toxics Control Act taxes chemicals at the wholesale level at 0.7% rate, and then that funds everything from cleanup to things like disposal of toxics programs. But because the price is down, the revenues are down, and we are now absorbing about a $100,000 a year hit from that reduction in the state capital budget. This year, that happened late in the third quarter of this year, and we went before the Solid Waste Executive Committee, which is the mayor's and the county executive, and discussed the issue and submitted a supplemental budget that was approved by SWEC and subsequently by council. But in the coming years, if the price of oil does not go back up, we'll have to take a look at revenues and expenses and services.
That kind of leads right to my second question. I know in years past, and I know we're working on a solid waste management plan right now, there's been concerns that the cost of this program has continued to get bigger, and while other recycling programs have shrunk. So there's always been some discussion about, do we need to look at the costs and find other funding mechanisms. I was wondering if the Solid Waste Advisory Committee looked at this contract and had any discussions about that.
SWAC has not looked at this contract in light of that, but we do have discussions, about services and revenues and expenses. And I think that there are options, and we do have ideas, both the revenue side and the expense side. Personally, my own opinion is that in the big picture, there are some things to look at. For example, like the 20-year-old exemption for self-haulers from the self-excise tax. They are using this service. They are disposing of their waste chemicals for free, but they're not even contributing to the program by paying that small excise tax when they drop off at a facility instead of having it picked up at the curbside. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity for discussion there.
Thanks.
Mr. Browne?
Is there any urgency on renewing this contract?
Yes, as a matter of fact, this contract expired on December 31st, and it is the 12th, and so we are currently providing the service without a contract.
Right. And the reason I'm asking is, given that the last time this was advertised for competitive bid was 3 years ago, I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to delay this a couple of weeks, because I know there's someone else who was interested in looking at bidding on this.
There's not. This was bid out 3 years ago, and we've been extremely happy with the contractor, and we are not interested actually in changing the current services or the provider of the services is our recommendation. If we had reason to go out to bid, if the prices or the service or the safety record or the customer service track record had issues, we would be considering going back out to bid. But in reality, there is a very good working relationship with this contractor who's doing a very good job.
And I respect that there's a good working relationship and they're doing a job. And in a private enterprise setup, I would certainly take those things into consideration. But I'd also periodically just go back out to the market and say, am I getting the best price? Am I getting the best technological solution? Irrespective of whether I'm particularly happy with the vendor or not. So I don't. A good relationship and good performance wouldn't stop me from periodically checking that I'm also getting the right price.
There's quite a cost to go out and bid and to change a service provider for these types of services. That does not come without a cost.
Mr. Donovan?
I just want to make sure I heard this right. So the 3% increase is basically just covering inflation?
Yes.
And the same level of services?
Yes. If you look at the fee schedule, it's typically by type of waste, and over a 6-year time period, costs go up for a service provider. So, if we went 3 years on the current prices, which actually were very good prices 3 years ago, and if we go another 3 years on only a 3% increase, we consider that to be good. That's $10,000 for over a year.
It's 3% flat, it's not 3% per year. That's
A 3% increase per drum shipped per hour of labor.
But that is over the next total over the next 3 years of the
Correct.
contract. Okay.
So the original prices 3 years ago, if we raise them 3% for another 3, they won't be raised for another 3 years. I consider that to be a very good deal for the county.
Ms. Brenner?
And I said this already, but maybe I didn't say it clearly enough. Part of doing an original contract and putting in it an amendment to allow for an extension of service is to get a good contract. And when you got good service and it helped our contract to have that extension, it would not only it would violate the spirit of the contract, and it's not fair to the other company. Companies are much more apt to give us a better bid, and the service is either good or not anyway, but a better bid if they know they have the opportunity for the extension. So anybody who wants to just open things up after we've already got those in a contract, I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Mr. Mann?
I'd like to move approval of this contract amendment.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Mr. Mann?
just as a fairly frequent user of this service over the years, I have found it to be an excellent resource for the community, and just the sheer number of toxic chemicals disposed there makes it worth it to all of us. And I just think it's a great service, and just the customer service and the folks out there are so helpful and accommodating, and I think they do a great job, and I support moving forward with this.
Mr. Brown?
Just as to follow up with what Mrs. Brenner just said, the original contract was negotiated on them getting a 3-year term with an option for both parties to extend. But an option is it's a point where the people can choose. It's not a guarantee. So they've been given their opportunity. They've been given they bid a price based on 3 years, not based on 3 years plus another 3 years. So.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. The next item is a resolution supporting the construction of a lighthouse at Lighthouse Marine Park in Point Roberts. We had quite a presentation before the end of the year on this, and I don't think there's probably anybody here to speak to it. So what's the wishes of the council?
I move approval, and I think it's an excellent idea.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
I'm going to support the resolution. I just hope, we all know that this is going to cost a lot of money to maintain and to operate. And, you know.
Ms. Brenner.
We have a $500,000 grant from these people who live there. That's going to take care of so much of it. And it would be we already have parks people to do maintenance stuff anyway. And to build this lighthouse, I can't believe they came forward and just offered to give us $500,000 to do it. That's like looking a gift horse in the face here. So you didn't know that.
No, I did. I know, over 10 years, 20 years of, this will pay for getting it built.
Well, and also they're going to be setting it up to have all kinds of meetings in there and events in there, including some that will pay. So rentable, yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of the motion signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Okay. Now we get into the fun stuff. Council appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. Annual appointment to various boards and commissions, and the additional information is late applications in the orange packet. So I want to start there. The deadline was last Tuesday at 10 a.m. So I would like to know, I would entertain a motion to either accept or reject late applications.
So moved.
Which way?
I accept.
You accept.
I'll second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to accept the late applications. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. That passes 6-1 with Councilmember Mann opposed. Okay. We have several here that are going to be by acclamation.
Most of them, if not.
Well, when we get to it. Yes.
I think they're all by acclamation, except for the new thing is going to require us to, was it the Birch Bay one? Yeah, the Birch Bay district is the only one that is going to require us to pick. Actually, no.
No,
The Lummi Island one, Birch Bay and Lummi Island. Okay.
even planning commission.
Planning Commission?
Yeah.
Oh, two, yeah, okay, I didn't think we were going to do those at the same time. Maybe we are. Are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Chair, thank you. There was a question on one of these that there's a question about citizenship, and the person indicated they weren't a citizen, and I'd asked staff to see if there's any issue with that, and was it a determination?
I found something, and unless I'm reading this wrong, it appears to me that our code requires people on boards and commissions, whether it's appointed by the council or the executive, to be citizens of the United States, because it incorporates in Whatcom County Code 2.03090, it refers to them meeting the qualifications of 4.20 in the charter, which are your qualifications for being on the council, which include being a citizen of the United States. So that's just on the fly using my phone. That's what I've come to.
So it sounds like the person who has indicated they're not a US citizen is probably ineligible until.
Probably so.
He's currently the chairman, too.
Yeah, let's.
So, Ms. Brenner,
Wasn't there also something about being a voter in Whatcom County?
Yes.
That's required, too.
That's
Yeah.
also required.
Okay.
So-
Doesn't need either of those.
I caught that too, and I asked if Jill could find out if there was an error made maybe on his application, just to check it to see, because I don't know how it got through the first time.
So as that is a non-competitive appointment, I think we can just defer that one until.
We could do either appoint the one that's in our packet,
Yeah.
or put the whole thing on hold.
We're talking about the
Drayton
Well-
Harbor.
Drayton Harbor, okay.
The Drayton Harbor Shellfish Protection District.
We have three applicants for 4 positions. So we could appoint 2 of those 3 and just leave the third one until next meeting.
Okay, yeah, I hadn't got through this. Let's start with the Board of Equalization. Ms. Brenner.
I'll nominate the 2 alternatives and the 1 District 3 one.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. The Drayton Harbor Shellfish Protection District, we have 1 in our packet, and we have 1 that's questionable.
So Mr. Chair, I nominate Mr. Seymour and Mr. Thompson.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Thompson and Mr. Seymour have been nominated, and it's been seconded. Any discussion?
Wait a minute, Thompson was not the guy with the,
No.
okay, yeah.
Okay, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. The next one is the Forestry Advisory Committee. We have 4 openings, and we have 4 people in the various disciplines. Ms. Brenner.
I will move approval of all 4 of them, and they're actually, yeah, they are all incumbents. They're doing a great job.
Okay. So we do have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I want to point out there are 5 vacancies, and there are 4 people. Says Forestry Advisory Committee says 5 vacancies, but there are only 4 applications. So there
Where's
is
the fifth?
There is no 5th applicant.
no, there is no 5th applicant, but there is still 1 vacancy.
Oh, okay.
I just
Okay,
wanted
it's
to
not
point.
in our packet.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. The next one is the Incarceration Prevention and Reduction Task Force. It's the Federally Qualified Health Center representative.
I'll move approval of the applicant.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, now we have, this one's interesting. So the Lummi Island Ferry Advisory Committee, as you can see, it says choose 2 or 3. Now, there's a floater. The third one is the floater, and it can be either a county representative or a resident, Lummi Island resident position. So just keep that in mind as
One or the
we're,
other? Oh,
it's
So-
confusing.
wait a minute, so it's one or the other, and the off-island one is One of the one or the other?
This is one of the maintenance.
I thought we could choose 3 under property owners and 1 under non-property owner.
It's right here. You got this one, and then this is the third one, Islander or county.
Oh,
And so that would be, we could choose to do that as an Islander, or we could choose
Okay.
to do it as a county representative.
and so that could be off-island. Gotcha. Okay.
Yes. Mr. Brown?
I'm sorry, I'm just a bit confused. So you're saying under the property owner, we can choose 2 or 3, but if we choose 3, we can't choose the non-property owner, is that it?
The off-island one, we can't do that?
Well, you can choose, here's the sheet. It's very confusing.
That's what's
There's 2
confusing.
Islanders.
I thought it was 3 on island and 1 off.
It's actually 4, but 2 of them aren't up. And then this one's Islander or county. That's the third one.
Well, that's not the way I mean, maybe it is.
So-
The county code says the committee shall consist of 7 voting members with at least 4, but no more than 5 of them residents. So 4 residents and 3 non-residents, or 5 and 2.
So we could vote for all these and still be okay, or not all, but 4 of we could vote for 4 residents and 1 non-resident.
No, there's 2 residents already on the committee.
Oh,
That was one.
Yeah.
So we could appoint 3 committee people from the island and the person from off the island.
oh, that's what oh, cool. Now I get it.
I'm not
That's
sure
what
I
I
do
thought.
that. So this is, I guess for Jill. So if we,
Because there's a late applicant here.
if we nominate this late applicant, Heidi Forbes, to get a 4-3 split of residents and non-residents, does that limit the pool of property owner residents on this list that then we can,
Yeah, we can only
We can only
choose
choose
3 of the 4.
3. We can do.
2?
3 of the 4, I think.
He said 3 of the 4 plus 1 non-resident.
You can choose 3 islanders and the 1 late non-island applicant,
Okay.
and that will fill the committee.
Perfect.
Or you can choose 2 islanders and the 1 off-island applicant, leaving a 3rd off-island vacancy.
Or leaving a 3rd island one vacant. Oh, wait a minute.
No, all the
I had it right the first time. I
yeah,
don't-
all the island positions can be filled tonight. So it's just a matter of deciding: do you want to appoint 1 off-island person or 2?
But we can still vote for 3 island people on this. It says choose 2 or 3.
You can. You don't
Okay.
have to. Yes.
And it won't preclude us from voting for an off-island one.
No.
Okay.
Maybe we should fix that someday.
I mean, the way it's written is so bizarre.
Yeah. The late applicant was Heidi Forbes,
Heidi Forbes, yeah.
and so she is a non-island resident. So if you want to
Can I
pencil her in,
move to nominate Heidi Forbes as the non-property? Or we're not at
Why don't you move to nominate everybody so everybody gets a chance?
Okay, I'll move to nominate everybody.
Second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded to nominate all applicants. This is by roll call.
Carl Weimer,
Ging, Blake, McKenzie, and Forbes.
Blake,
Don't include Forbes in your voting. She's
Okay, I thought we were voting for.
That's what I was trying
Here
to.
for. Okay,
Okay.
Sorry.
Ging, McKenzie, and Blake.
Rud Browne,
Ging, McKenzie, and Blake.
Ken Mann,
Gang Bailey Blake.
Satpal Sidhu,
Ging, Bailey, and Blake.
Barbara Brenner,
Mackenzie, Ging, and Blake.
Todd Donovan,
Ging, Bailey, and Blake.
Barry Buchanan,
Gang, Bailey, and Blake. looks like to me it's Ging, Bailey, and Blake. Got 4 votes. Okay, so that takes care of that.
Now, do we need a separate motion for the nomination for
Heidi.
Heidi? Oh, it's over.
So, sorry, I didn't hear.
I would nominate Heidi Forbes for
Second.
the other position.
Okay, Heidi Forbes has been nominated for the county position. And it's been seconded. We can do this by acclamation, obviously. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. So now we go to the Planning Commission. We have, I got too many papers going here.
Mr. Chair, I nominate all 4 applicants.
Okay. The at-large rep has nominated all 4. That's Gary Honcoop, Stephen Jordan, Virginia Malmquist, and Atal Deschemaine. And it's been seconded. Do we have, call the roll, please?
Carl Weimer,
Malmquist and Deschemaine.
Rud Browne,
Honcoop and Deschemaine.
Ken Mann,
Honcoop and Deschmane.
Satpal Sidhu,
Honcoop and Dashmani.
Barbara Brenner,
Uncoop and Jordan.
Todd Donovan,
Honcoop and Deshmani.
Barry Buchanan,
Honcoop and Deschemaine. And it looks like it's Honcoop and Deschemaine.
Yes.
Okay, now we're up to the Portage Bay Shellfish Protection District. We have 3 applicants and 2 applicants and 3 openings.
I'd move by acclamation.
Yes, by acclamation. Second. Any discussion?
Just
All
say
those
their
in fa-
name. Did you already say their name?
Yeah. Oh, maybe I didn't. John DeLong and Albert DeBoer, both incumbents. So they've been nominated and it's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Solid Waste Advisory Committee. It's by acclamation. It's Ed Nakula and Casey Heinley. Do we have a nomination?
I nominate them.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is the Surface Mining Advisory Committee. This is also by acclamation. We have Leif Schumann.
I'll move approval of Leif Schumann, or I
Second.
nominate him, whatever.
We have a second. Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. And that's the end of my sheets for that.
The flood thing, what page?
So now we are at the Flood Control Zone District. We are acting now as the Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors. And Dana, I don't have,
Here.
okay, so we have, thank you. We have, in geographic area representative, we have Scott Bedlington and Sonny Kunchek. Oh, this will be by acclamation for all. We have special districts, choose 2 out of 2, Ron Brasma and Scott Hulse. And impacted cities, John Perry and Robert Bromley. Do I have a nomination?
So I nominate all 6 candidates.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. The Birch Bay Watershed and Aquatic Resources Management Advisory Committee. This will be by acclamation. We're choosing 2 out of 2. Aaron Strand
There's a third one, I think.
and Don Brown. There is a third one.
I think there's another one.
It's William Booth on this one.
Okay. And William Booth. So we'll have to vote for that.
Okay, Aaron, Don, and William.
I nominate all 3.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Can we have the roll call, please?
Carl Weimer,
Bill Booth and Aaron Strang.
Rud Browne,
Strang and Brown.
Ken Mann,
Brown and Booth.
Satpal Sidhu,
Brown and Booth.
Barbara Brenner,
Strand and Brown.
Todd Donovan,
Brown and Booth.
Barry Buchanan,
Brown and Booth.
Wait a minute. Did I say, I meant Strand and Booth. Did I say that?
no,
Sorry.
that's all right.
Okay, so it looks like it's Brown and Booth. Next one is the Linden Everson Flood Control Subzone Advisory Committee. We have 1 applicant. Do we have a motion? Do we have a nomination?
Nominate Bronsman.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is the Sumas Everson Nooksack Flood Control Subzone Advisory Committee. We have 2 openings and 1 application. Is Kelly Houston?
I'll nominate Kelly Houston.
Second.
It's been nominated and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Now I think we're done. Yeah. We're done, right? Thank you. Okay, our next item on the agenda is introduction items. We have 1 item, ordinance amending the 2016 Whatcom County Budget, 3rd request. Do I have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to introduce. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Ms. Brenner.
I don't have it written yet, but I think everybody's received, this is about an introduction item that I would like to see introduced that's not written yet, but we have this wonderful council clerk who might, if I request it really politely, be interested in doing a resolution on this so we could put it in committee, because I'm interested in having the council behind it as a whole and not just a few of us. It's about the lack of good emergency phone service up in Glacier, and I had written to the sheriff about it, and he gave me some information, and it sounds like we're probably going to have to work with the state and get some more information in committee. So I'd like a resolution for council support to put this in committee and work with the state. It's terrible to have any area in our county that has no decent emergency phone service. So that's my motion.
Are you saying we need a resolution to put it in committee?
I'd like a resolution that we support the concept and then put it in committee to get more of the details.
Well, I support putting it in our Public Works Committee and then I'll know after that if I support anything further.
Okay, but in concept, I'd like to know if there's unanimous or majority council support to work on getting decent emergency phone service in the Glacier area. I mean, mother and apple pie, how can you?
Mr. Brown?
If I may make a friendly amendment, I think we need to have a specific ask, which is to ask CenturyLink, which I believe is the landline provider, to maintain a phone out there. And I would support sending a letter to them asking them to do that.
I'd rather kind of go through, I don't know if it's the sheriff and public works before I want to do that, or work with our state representatives. That might even be better. I don't know. I'm not sure. I just know that I would like the concept supported by the council, which can be a very short resolution. You had mentioned doing it by resolution. Do I still need to do that?
What we discussed was sending a resolution to the state if that's the avenue
Okay.
that we need to take in order to get it
But I,
installed
yeah,
or whatever.
but I still would like it in committee to get more specifics. What she said.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
And again, all I'm saying is that if we want something done, we have to provide a specific ask of a specific body.
Yeah, our state representatives. We have 2 representatives and 1 state senator. I'd like the resolution letter to go to them as a start.
This is kind of unusual, though, to put the cart before the horse, I think.
Yeah.
I think getting a resolution drafted and through the Public Works Committee would be the right way to go. And then,
Yeah. That's,
but I think asking us to prematurely support or not is probably not that good of
I'm asking to support the concept, and if the clerk would please put that kind of wording in there, that I'm more interested in having the concept in our resolution than the specifics, because the specifics will be worked out, but we once we show that we're serious, that's the start. Other than that, we go from there.
Okay, so can you craft that into a motion?
I move that we ask the council clerk to write up a draft resolution, because you need 2 weeks. I don't want to keep this waiting. I just want to get something going. So if we talk about it and we're okay next time, we can just pass it. And that's my motion. Draft resolution to support the concept of having adequate emergency management phone service in the Glacier area. And we'll go into the specifics,
Mr. Chair?
committee.
Do we have a second?
No. I have, okay, it is important, sir.
Point of order. I'd like to see if there's a second first. I don't see a second.
Can we hear the motion again? Or
I did, yeah.
whatever.
Oh, she's just putting it down, but was my motion adequate?
I mean, I want to.
I think,
So the motion has died at this point. So,
yes.
Yes, Mr. Sidhu.
What I want to suggest, there is a proper way of doing it. Let's put it in the committee, discuss it, and whatever resolution or committee decides, we'll move forward. Why short circuit that for one thing or another thing? It'll become a precedent every time. Oh, this is important, or we should do it a different way. There's already a way to deal with these things.
Ms. Brenner.
Well, I don't want to put it off for 2 weeks and then 2 more weeks. And if we do it that way, we would have to put it off for 2 more weeks. This way, we're just talking conceptually. And, okay, what is, Tyler wants to say something? Okay.
Mr. Weimer.
I certainly support the idea of getting better phone service up in that area, but I agree with Mr. Sidhu that it makes more sense for the committee to figure out where you want to go and then write the resolution. We don't have to wait 2 weeks for a resolution.
Oh,
we
okay.
could write one on a piece of paper right now and pass it this evening.
Well, give me 5 minutes.
If we knew what it was we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Okay, I withdraw my motion, or whatever, my request. Stay tuned, this is going to be in Public Works Committee.
Mr. Sidhu.
Oh, I was going to say that there has been no phone for last whole year, 2 more weeks is not going to really make a huge difference. I mean, there's a process and procedure. Let's just go through that, and probably next meeting we'll have it resolved.
Ms. Brenner?
I can't help myself. When it's something that's emergency related, I think 2 weeks can certainly make a difference to somebody who has something happen in the 2 weeks. I'm withdrawing my thing, so it's over.
Okay. So we're at committee reports, other items, and council member updates. Do we have anything? We don't have any committees this morning, so we have no reports from committees. Other items, anyone? Mr. Weimer?
One that we should probably discuss, and we could discuss it at our next meeting if we so choose, is that we, Barry and I were, Mr. Buchanan and I were notified today that there's been a request from the Lummi Nation that we have a government-to-government discussion with them regarding the Cherry Point UGA. So at some point, we should decide whether we want to do that and how we want to do that, whether it's asking them if they want to have a joint meeting with the Lummi Indian Business Council and us, or whether it's, 3 people from each council or what. But we can certainly share that letter. But since we're going to start talking about the UGAs at our next meeting, it would be probably good to set up that meeting if we so desire sooner than later.
I have a question.
Just let me go down the line here. Ken, do you have anything?
Well, should we be talking about that, or we can just? We're on the, or are we just on the anything?
We're on other items.
No,
Okay.
I wanted to talk about that before we get off that subject.
Yeah, and if you need to make it a decision point that we can think, I would move that we move forward with the meeting with the Lummies to talk about the UGA as they requested.
Okay, we have a second.
I second that.
Okay, Ms. Brenner?
Karen, is this going to interfere at all with the GPT issue? That's all I want to know.
I'm not concerned about, well, I am concerned, but I don't think there's anything we can do to prevent the discussions that are occurring.
Okay, so if it gets into GPT and we're in a meeting with them, are we going to have a problem?
If it's being discussed in the context of a comp plan amendment, then I don't think there's any way to control the discussion.
Interesting. Okay.
Mr. Donovan?
In terms of Mr. Weimer's point here, what are our pathways or options for doing that kind of a meeting? I'm the new guy.
Well, I'm not sure I can spell them all out. I mean, we certainly could ask them how they want, in the letter that we received, I don't think there was any discussion of how they wanted to do that meeting. Normally, they don't like to do big public meetings, so I'm thinking that a joint meeting with us and them might not be their preference, but I don't know that for sure. In the past, when we were talking about like ferry issues, we sent 3 representatives out there, so it wouldn't be a quorum, and they did the same, so we didn't have to have public meetings. And that doesn't sit well with everybody either.
Mr. Mann?
I would propose we send our Intergovernmental Tribal Relations Committee and our council chair out as those 3 members and represent us and meet with them in whatever format they choose.
I don't remember.
I'm one of them.
That would be Mr. Browne and Ms. Brenner and
That would constitute a quorum of a committee, though.
which,
It would? Oh, yeah. Mr.
Not of a standing committee.
no, I think that's okay. Yeah.
It's okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah, that's not a standing.
Well, wait a minute. It's a quorum of 2 committees. It's also, we're on the Public Works Committee. We're on several committees
But
together.
the Intergovernmental Tribal Committee is 2 members of this council that are on a different committee, so it wouldn't be a quorum of that
I
committee.
don't know. I'd rather get a
Yeah, it's not public. It's not a public works meeting. It's still a quorum.
quorum of 3 committees. Well, Mr. Browne and I are on 3 different committees together.
That would definitely constitute a quorum.
I think so, yeah.
But my understanding is even though we are on 3 different committees, if the topic of discussion is not a matter of one of those committees.
Well, it certainly is a matter of
What are
planning.
those committees that you're on? What are those committees?
Planning, and it would certainly be
Yeah,
planning.
Planning, that doesn't work.
No.
But
They're not.
Councilmember Brown is
I'm
not
not
on
on
he's
planning.
planning.
You're not on planning?
Mr. Browne is not on planning.
Who's on planning?
Myself,
Oh, you and me and who else?
you, and Carl.
Oh, Carl's on planning. Oh,
So you and I can talk about a planning issue, and it's not a quorum of it.
right.
As long as you're not talking about public works issues or issues related to your committees in common, I think you're okay.
Okay.
Okay, so, Ken, was that, we have a motion on the table, was that like a friendly amendment to
Well,
Carl's?
it was a suggested clarification for the maker of the motion, should you be interested.
I think I'll pass on that. I think we should hear from them about what they want and then decide
Okay.
who we want to send to
That's
them.
way easier.
I know we didn't do the intergovernmental, intertribal thing when we were talking about the ferry because we wanted people that were up on ferries. If they have certain topics they want to talk, we might want to choose 3 people that don't conflict with each other that are the best folks.
Who don't conflict, that'll be.
Okay, so then the motion is just to consider their request and come up with a viable option.
Right. Contact them and find out
Yeah.
how they'd like to proceed also.
And I would take that on.
Yep.
Okay, I'll support that.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. Okay, we're more other items. Mr. Mann.
So I just wanted to acknowledge Carl Weimer's job as chair for the last 2 years. I really thought he did an outstanding job as our council chair, and appreciated his leadership and his work on a lot of issues and how he ran the meeting. So just wanted to thank him for that and wish Mr. Buchanan all the luck in the world as he takes on that role going forward. Thank you for that.
And I would second that. On both points, the thanks to Mr. Weimer and the appreciation of Mr. Buchanan's leadership.
Thank you. Any other items? Ms. Brenner.
Well, first I'm going to say I would like to thank Lynn Barton for all her years of putting up with us and taping our meetings. This is going to be your last meeting, right? And I'm really going to miss you. You've done an incredible job. We're not that easy, as you know, from all these years, but you've done a wonderful job. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Mr. Brown.
May I inquire as to why this is your last meeting?
Time for a change.
You can only watch days of your lives for
I'm not done.
Yes, Ms. Brenner.
I also wanted to say how much I appreciate Carl being chair and Barry taking over at the helm. And I just have to say for people, it is not an easy job. Putting up with me is never easy. And not just anybody can be chair. You have to have 2 important qualities. One of them is being able to keep everybody focused and on target and, but the other one is also being really warm and inviting and to the people who you allow to come up and speak, because we work for the public, and I can't stand how this thing is set up where we sit above them anyway. And so we really need to bend over backwards to make people feel welcome and not intimidated. And Carl's done a great job, and I'm sure you will. So that's important to me. Thanks.
Mr. Donovan.
Are we on other items? Or
We're just on
council member
other
updates?
items.
We're still on other items?
Yeah, what we have is other items, and then we have council member updates. So other items are business items.
Oh, okay.
No business items.
No business items. Mr. Sidhu?
No business item.
So now we'll go to council member updates. Mr. Weimer?
I had one business item.
Oh, you have a piece of business?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Brown.
Today we received a notice that there is an intention on the part of the proponents for GPT to see something put into the comp plan about Cherry Point, and then we also heard that there is proponents of the Lummi who also want something put into the comp plan And I would just like to get an opinion as to whether either of those are appropriate for the council to express within the comp plan a position on that.
I have thought about this, and I don't know of any legal way to stop people from commenting however they choose on the comp plan update. All of it will be on the record as I understand it, and I think both sides will have an opportunity to comment on that particular piece of business, which is separate and apart from the permit process.
No, but I think the request, as I understand it, the request is going to be that we incorporate that language in the comp plan.
Into the comp plan.
Incorporate what language?
Their language.
That both the proponents and the opponents for GPT want us to incorporate in the comp plan something to do with Cherry Point, and my expectation is we couldn't do either.
Well, I'm not sure what language that is.
Well,
I'll send you the email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you the email.
That's a good point. Did you have something?
No,
Okay. Council member updates, Mr. Weimer.
I'm glad it's a short meeting. I have to be in Calgary at 8 a.m., so, and I need to buy Powerball tickets before I go home.
Yeah.
He has to share if he wins.
So if I'm not here at the next meeting, you know what happened.
Yeah.
Nothing to report, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Brown?
If you're not here at the next meeting, we'll seek you as our new source of funding for county projects.
Yeah.
Nothing else to report.
Ms. Brenner? Mr. Donovan?
This is where I can just say anything.
Yeah.
It's a great honor to be up here with all of you, and had a great swearing-in ceremony with Satpal and the American Sikh community on Friday, and then this was done. We did another one on Monday,
Yeah.
but everyone's been very warm and welcoming. It's great to be here.
Well, welcome. We welcome you.
Yeah.
Mr.
I was
Sidhu?
going to just say, Todd, welcome. I just came along with you, but I was here before. So, and Carl, thank you very much. Learned a lot, and very best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Okay, seeing no other business before the council, we are adjourned.
Thank you.